available for well, not every single brand, but most of the VoIP brands. And we specialize in supplying to ITSPs and resellers for hosted services. We don't deal with the end users directly. We leave that part for resellers to sort. So what we do is we distribute wide range of CPE equipment to all forms providers, which is within VoIP. We also provide additional services, fulfillment services to our resellers, and we also have our online ordering system, which can be API if you want to have if you want to integrate with your CRM system for automatic ordering, or if you want to integrate with your e-tailing website where you just receive an order and send it over to us, and then it's all automated, so we just dispatch it for you. We offer zero-touch provisioning since 2005. It may not be or may be applicable to 3.6 applications depending on how you install it, but the idea of that is effectively historically not many people understood the provisioning side of the phones. So what we do at the moment is we offer to most of the ITSP customers who doesn't have their own provisioning service, we drop ship the phone directly to the end user. You plug it in, it downloads all the credentials securely from our servers, and the phone works. So the idea is you could be, you could be based in London and you have a customer in Manchester. You drop ship directly to Manchester, the phone plugs in and it works. So that's something we have been doing, and we are probably known to be an expert on phone provisioning, and especially the secure phone provisioning side of the business. We deliver vendor technical training courses, as I'm doing that today, and our technical support is probably one of the most promising, highly level, highly expert kind of teams in products we sell. So over supplies, as I covered, we effectively supply most of the major brands available in the market, whether it's Snom, Yealing, Fanwell, 2N, Gigaset. We have different range available. So the idea of these supplies is we would like to provide end-to-end solution to our reseller base. So you can buy a software client, you can buy hardware, or you can buy switches, routers, PoE injectors, and vice versa from us. So some of the products, again, we have a wide range of product range. Again, I've covered that anyway. So IP desk phones, DEC phones, conference phones, intercoms, paging systems, ATA, GSM phones. Now, just to confirm, the GSM phones are more GSM desk phones as compared to GSM mobile phones. IP PBX is obviously 3.6 is one of them, and we also specialize in voice gateways, which allow you to integrate with ISDN lines and PSTN lines and vice versa and connect with 3.6 systems. We do offer service wrap. This is what I've covered anyways, but we offer white labeling of orders. So as long as you provide us with your A4 company letterhead, we can ship items out to your customers with your letterhead inside it, which effectively looks like it's coming straight from you. We offer branded shipping and marketing inserts. So if you want to send a marketing insert, for example, to give you an example, a lot of customers order routers from us, but obviously by default there is no quick start guide, or the quick start guide doesn't really have to apply to the actual customer. So they have provided has a marketing insert which basically walks them through to the A to B, effectively how to connect to A to connect and vice versa, which helps them to reduce their technical support burden. So we do offer marketing inserts as part of the solution. And of course, we obviously, as I said, we offer training courses and webinars, technical support, anything we sell, we do provide technical support as well, second-line technical support, at least I would say. And we do have an online portal, which is used which can be used via web access or via API. And our idea is you can order online, place orders online, you can track orders, you can, you can see the pricing, all sorts of different things. So it's pretty much a reseller portal available to all the people. If you don't have access, please come and feel free to come to us and speak to us, and we'll create one login for you, or multiple logins for you. So the last bit is effectively buy through a 3CX from ProView, because effectively most of the resellers can effectively buy directly from 3CX as well. But if you have been selling 3CX, or if you are known to work with 3CX, basically 3CX don't provide free support to affiliate partners. So if you're starting up with 3CX, they would probably recommend Pro to come and buy the licenses from us. But again, as I said, you can purchase from them directly. But the idea is, if you do purchase if you're an affiliate partner and you do purchase 3CX license directly, you have to pay 3CX to get support from it. Whereas if you buy from ProView, you get support included as part of the package. Also, when you buy from 3CX directly, you have to pay up front, whereas with 3CX, we can offer you a 30 days credit limit on all the purchase. And finally, and most importantly, the reason we do that is to offer a one-stop shop experience to all of the resellers. So which basically means you can buy phones, headsets, routers, switches, 3CX licenses. We obviously even send 3CX SBCs as well on the Raspberry Pi. So you can buy all these things, get it shipped out to the customer, and all they have to do is plug and play, or maybe your engineers to start plugging in the thing. I do apologize. I believe that the slides have been slowed, so I do apologize that it should now work. But again, fortunately, we've not missed much anyway. So effectively, that's what we buy from ProView is. And finally, as I said, we do have an overall online portal, which is called Process. So if you don't have access to it, you can obviously apply for access online to our website or by sending an email to our sales team email address. So that's pretty much the most boring part. Let's crack on with the 3CX training. So I'm just going to change them some slides. So just bear with me 1 second while I'm doing that. So excuse me. So the first part is installation of 3CX, and that's a module obviously we're going to cover. Now, 3CX can be installed on a variety of different operating systems. If you have experience, obviously you will know that. If you don't have experience, but I'll talk you through it anyways. But the main supported operating systems are Windows, Windows 10 specifically, or Windows Server operating system. Anything newer than Windows Server 2016 ideally. If you have older version of Windows Server 2016 or Windows 8 or 7, 3CX don't support it. So probably best to upgrade or update your operating system before you move on and install or plan to install it on a Windows-based operating system. If you want to install 3CX on a Linux operating system, you can do so on Debian 9 Stretch, and there is an ISO 3CX ISO available, which will install all the operating systems and 3CX. It helps you if you're not obviously familiar with Debian or Linux in general. It can be a bit of a tedious job to install it. So effectively what 3CX have done is they provide an all-in-one package, again downloadable from 3CX or via your partner portal. So it's pretty much straightforward installation for you. Now bear in mind that all these operating systems must be 64-bit architecture. 3CX have stopped supporting 32-bit operating system for ages, so make sure if you do have an operating system, it supports the 64-bit architecture. Finally, 3CX can also be installed in the new Raspberry Pis. It's been possible on Raspberry Pi 3 as well, but the Raspberry Pi 3 was a bit more less meatier in terms of obviously the resources available. But the Raspberry Pi 4, which is the new one, it is possible to install Raspberry Pi officially on maximum limitation. Obviously, still a mini computer, but the maximum limitation from 3CX point of view is you can have up to 24 something scrolls on it with up to 30 extensions configured on it. And again, you can use either a standard Pro or Enterprise license on Pi. It doesn't really matter which version you go for. So if you do decide to use Windows operating system, you must make sure all the Windows updates have been installed prior to starting the process. This includes the .NET updates, as it is crucial for the smooth operation of 3CX. I have had a couple of people who complained about installation issues, and the main issue was they basically didn't configure the .NET infrastructure when they raised it. So when they will trying to install it, so make sure the .NET installation, again, if you have on system, just it's a pretty much straightforward click installation. So if you install it, make sure it is configured properly as well. Most of the time, you don't have to do anything on it. With 3.6 modern interface, a compatible browser is required, obviously, first of all. And again, 3.6 is configured entirely from a web browser. This can be either Google Chrome, Firefox, Edge. Again, avoid using Internet Explorer if you can. The system with which 3.6 is installed on must be as free as possible for many third-party applications. So if you use generally Windows Server tends to do multiple different tasks. So 3.6 strongly recommend if you do install 3.6 PBX on a server, make sure it is free from there's no Microsoft Exchange running, no MySQL SQL server running, or DNS or VPN software on it. Also, as most of these packages or services exist on a network prior to the deployment of 3CX, both 3CX and ProView strongly recommend to install it on a fresh and dedicated machine. Again, it's a PBX, it's a mission critical product, so make sure it is installed on a dedicated machine. Antivirus software packages has also been known to cause sometimes issues. So if you do have one installed, make sure you have added the necessary exceptions in its settings. That means excluding the 3.6 data folder from being filtered. Also make sure that the HTTP and HTTPS traffic is excluded from the network traffic scan. We're not going to cover the firewall bit of it on obviously Windows Firewall anyways, but again, if you're installing on Windows Server, I'm hoping you know what the firewall settings are on it. So when installing the Linux operating system, the installation process automatically install all the necessary updates and just 1 second. So there was a question which got me sidetracked. So it's installed all the necessary updates and for the operating system. So there's no extra steps required. The only requirement when installing it on a Linux operating system is it must be a dedicated machine to use for 3CX. So again, if you planning to install it on a virtualized environment, not all hypervisors platforms are up to the task, unfortunately. And for this reason, 3CX have come up with a preference of platforms which they have tested, and these will provide you a trouble-free kind of experience, and there's probably the maximum level of support from ProView and 3.6 as well. Again, should an issue occur. So the virtual platforms that has been tested on Microsoft Hyper-V are Microsoft Hyper-V. Again, certain version, which is obviously you have to be more greater than 2012 version, R2 version, VMware ESXi greater than 3.5, 6.5, KVM, and Strix Zen server. So these are some of the recommended ones from us. For hosted platforms, the ones that have been tested are OpenStack with KVM. Many data centers use this infrastructure, including Amazon AWS with EC2 and Lightsail machines, Google Cloud Engine, Microsoft Azure, OVH. So these can be deployed using the 3.6 deployment wizard, which will allow you to deploy your PBX without much of a hassle, really. It's pretty much straightforward. Unfortunately and strangely, it's not part of the 3.6 basic training course, but I did cover the hosted installation of 3CX in the intermediate training course. So if you're interested, you can obviously join us for intermediate training course, where I will walk you through the whole installation process on a hosted deployment. So and any other OpenStack version 2 onward compatible providers can be used. Obviously, there's hundreds and hundreds of providers, so it's not always easy to certify all those versions. But again, most of the people, as we said, uses OpenStack version 2 anyway. So if you do want to use your own choice of hosted provider, please make sure they use OpenStack version 2 onwards. And again, we will cover that more in the PBX Express module in the intermediate training course, again, if you want to learn more about it. For other cloud hosting providers, you can upload the 3.6 ISO into a Debian instance and deploy directly from the ISO, just like an on-premise deployment. So if you don't want to go into hassle of using the OVH and vice versa, and if you just bought some space, you can just install it using the ISO as well. 3.6 do offer their own 3CX instances or hosted systems, which uses the 3.6 deployment wizard from the customer or from the partner portal. There are some limitations. I'm not going to go into the details because, again, these are covered more into the intermediate training course. But the 3.6, again, 3.6 ISO, which is available on 3.6 website or partner portal, can be used for either a local machine, a bare metal machine, or a local hypervisor. So the ISO is kind of flexible in that sense. So what are the kind of hardware requirements? Hardware specifications primarily depend on the deployment size. There's so much that PBX can do, so much. It's got audio video conferencing, it's got chat messaging, it's got screen sharing, it's kind of unified communication platform. Because it can do so much, it depends really on what the use case is. 3CX do recommend hardware based on how many extensions and what's user scenario based, and these specifications are available either for bare metal or within a virtualized environment locally. So the link in there, again, you may not be able to obviously click the link, but if you go to 3CX and look for hardware requirement, you can find all the information on 3CX website. It may differ depending on, as I said, the user scenario, but we can go into that more detail. So, for example, if you intend to record the calls on your system, a hard disk is kind of very important. So, because the recordings are written to the disk on the fly, you must ensure that the hard disk reads, write speeds can cover your call recording needs. In the recording module, we will cover the archiving of recordings and how this will affect your disk usage and effectively help you spare the disk or empty the disk usage on a regular basis. Again, it is covered in intermediate training course as well. Also, the more extensions which are configured and provisioned using the PBX, the more memory will be required for something like BLF, busy LAN fields, or status indication updating, and a presence information to be relayed to clients. Finally, the audio of calls to and from VoIP provider passes through the PBX. Depending on the amount of concurrent active calls you kind of predict you will have, so you may need to adjust the RAM size of your server. As I said, hardware specific link. If you look at the link which I've just in that slide, or again on Google, if you search for it, you will find that information there. Sorry, I'm just keeping an eye on the questions to make sure there's no audio issues, so please bear with me if you hear me quieting down a bit. I'm just basically making sure there's no issues with audio, so apologies. So the network requirements for 3CX are quite simple. To connect a 3CX server to the network using a wired connection. Never ever try connecting to a wireless network. It doesn't work. We have people strangely trying to use Wi-Fi on 3.6 PBX, and it failed miserably. And effectively, if you do try to install on Wi-Fi, you're not going to get any support from 3.6 or from ProView. Let's put it that way. Also, if you intend to use the installation or as an on-premise kind of setup, meaning that the users and 3.6 servers will be on the same LAN, then the IP address that this LAN must use should be a private range as defined by the RFC. Again, if you're installing a local IP address, it could be 192.168.1.200 and vice versa. In my demonstration, I will be using the local LAN for the installation, so I'll walk you through it as well. So again, RFC 1918 is most of the routers, most of the devices are compatible anyway. So I don't think you need to know start reading the RFC anyways. So using the RFC compliant addressing scheme internally allow access to the PBX via the IP address and not the FQDN of the PBX, as well as provisioning via HTTP locally rather than HTTPS. 3.6 can be installed on a server with multiple network cards and can be configured to use them. However, it is recommended not to complicate the network configuration of the server if it is not necessary effectively. So in this module, we're going to talk about how to install on a server with only one network card. This means it must only have one IP address assigned to it, and you must disable all the unused network adapters. Just having them plugged in, unplugged, or showing as not connected are not sufficient. Now, having an IP PBX like 3.6 probably means that you're going to be using VoIP providers for calls, and most likely you are also going to have remote extensions. Now, we will cover remote extensions again in intermediate training course, but this means that in order for this communication to be possible or to work properly, there will be some traffic traversing of the firewall that sits between 3CX and the internet. And for this reason, having access to and configuring the firewall is required. The next section we will cover the firewall element of it anyways. So another requirement 3.6 has is it must have constant and unfiltered access to the internet. This means that any traffic sent to the 3cx.com or 3cx.net domain must not pass through a HTTPS proxy, and the firewall must not perform any deep inspection of the packets, at least for the traffic to these specific domains. Failing to do so may result in problems relating to activating your license key, downloading updates, and accessing 3CX web meeting software or web meeting software. Also, having a public static IP address, although not mandatory nowadays, but it is something to be considered as this provides stability to all the external communication. If your network has restrictions on outgoing traffic, then the PBX will need to be exempted from this filtering at a bare minimum to the host. Okay, so there are links. Obviously, there are links that you can effectively look at for web meeting troubleshooting issues if you're having issues with web meetings. But again, we will cover that in the firewall section, configuration of firewall sections. So hopefully that will allow you to make sure the firewall is configured correct for it to work. So during the installation of 3CX, you will be asked to provide a license key. 3CX currently offer 3 different kinds of licenses, or effectively, there's a standard edition, pro edition, and enterprise edition. The standard edition has no limitations on the amount of VoIP providers, gateways, extensions you can create. You can make use of most of the basic features 3CX has to offer. However, there are some limitations. A 3CX FQDN, SSL certificate, as an SMTP server will need to be used. Some of the 3CX, I think there's 8. The maximum you can have is 8 call send licenses, effectively free to download and use at the moment anyway. So effectively, you get certain features free of charge as well. The Pro Edition will allow you more features to be used. This is the most commonly used license or purchase license from us, Pro Edition, which effectively offers most of the useful features, like among others, like queues, bridging to PBXs, CRM integration, and hotel or hospitality services add-on. And if you do want something a bit more advanced, the Enterprise Edition adds, on top of what you can get from Standard and Pro, it also adds advanced code recording controls, or recording controls, which basically means if you are installing it in a financial environment and you want to pause and post-record recordings to stop recording, obviously, the card payments and stuff like that, that is something available on Enterprise Edition of software. Also, with enterprise edition software, it allows you to use the same license key on multiple servers, which effectively can act as a HA. When required, opening the opportunity for failover solutions and scenarios effectively. Other features which will benefit a corporate admin, giving them access to phone customization as well as increasing control of port reporting, vice versa. Again, for more details of comparison, you can go to 3CX.com/ordering/pricing, and you can find the detailed feature information of the different kind of licenses available from 3CX. So let's talk about this. I'm going to try and be quick because this is just generally the installation process, and when I demonstrate it, hopefully that will make more sense. So if you don't already have a key, you can get a free annual license key. The license will have the standard edition features enabled by default because it's a free key. You can get the free key by filling in the form found on 3CX, and then you can use, once you've completed the form, it will send you a key and you can use that key. The key is one of the requirements before you move on to the installation process. 3CX cannot be installed without a license key. So if you don't have a key, you want to go past this section of the thing, the first section of the thing. So in this section, you can obviously see if you're doing a new installation, you can use an existing key, but also if you are doing a backup, or if your machine has died and you have a backup, you can also use the same process to recover or use an existing backup file to recover the file or recover the PBX as well. External FQDN, there's also always a question about that. So 3CX requires an FQDN in order to be set up. This is a must. Using a FQDN makes connecting remote extensions and endpoints seamless. It is also more secure since all remote extensions will be connecting via HTTPS using a secure SSL. I don't have to say secure, but it is SSL certificates. Fortunately, again, 3CX handles all this for you. 3CX will set up an FQDN for you with the subdomain of your choice, and will also create automatically Let's Encrypt SSL certificates, and it automatically renews without you having to do anything. Now, this will provide a secure connection to all the browsers and remote IP phones connecting to your server over the internet. And now you can use your own SSL certificates. You can use your own FQDN if you don't want to use 3CX FQDN, but there is more. But that part is not covered. If you do want to use your own certificate, look at the link below. It's if you go to again, if you search in Google or 3CX website about using your own SSL certificates, there's a guide on 3CX which talks about how you can use your own FQDN and upload your own certificates to 3CX PBX. So we did mention obviously earlier that a static IP address is recommended for if you're installing it on a local machine, but it is possible to have a dynamic IP address because actually maybe you may not have, if I for instance, at the moment I don't have a static IP address at home. I am using a dynamic IP address. So although I don't have it, I can still install it. But the problem is when your IP address changes, you will experience some downtime on your PBX. And for any calls to and from outside numbers or remote applications may not work because the DNS takes some time to update the new IP address. This process is called effectively DNS propagation. This is why 3CX recommends using a dynamic IP address for testing purpose only or training purposes, but not for production use. If you are using a dynamic address, be sure to use a 3CX supplied FQDN, as 3CX will automatically update your FQDN DNS records when it detects a new IP address. 3CX will also keep your SSL certificates and FQDN active as long as a maintenance agreement is active on a perpetual license key or on an annual license key. The license key, as I said, is free of charge for first year, but if you don't renew the maintenance on it, the next year, there are things which is FQDN and SSL certificates will stop renewing, which basically means your PBX will most probably be useful. So make sure you do that. So this is an easy and reliable choice, effectively, when we would talk about domain. Because if you use 3.6 domains, you don't have to worry about buying the domain from an external source and configuring